us to dream, my love. We are all but once, all living till whenever. When's that gonna change? What difference can you make? Walls, they can't be built to last forever, and they can't hide hope from us. Change, you gotta bring down the fever. For those who know love, there are no greater losses than those of the heart. Oh, when's it gonna start? Shoo-be-da, 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 shoo-be-da. Shoo-be-da, 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 shoo-be-da. Oh, if the feeling is love, if the feeling is love, then we look to the sky. If you wanna know why, if you wanna know why, then you must answer, who am I? We are all but once, all living to whenever. When's it gonna change? What difference can love make? The difference that love makes. What difference can love make? The difference that love makes. Had to change guitars real quick. Yes, I know that it's hard, and I know it all hurts at first, but you've gotta keep trying. He will find you. We've all made our mistakes and might not want to admit them. You will open up in time. He will find you. Well, sometimes in the rain, do a flower take root? But only in the light now. The same flower blooms. Well, I believe in two, yeah, being greater than one. Takes the storm and the sun. Oh, yeah. Ba-da-dum. Ba-da-dum. You don't have to convince him. You don't have to change his mind. If he loves you, he'll listen. He will find you. It may be that you lose him. Some of these dreams are cut short now. We all open up in time. You will find him. Well, sometimes in the rain do a flower take root, but only in the light now. Same flower blooms. Well, I believe in two, yeah, being greater than one. Storm and the sun. Oh, in the rain, a flower takes root, but only in the light now. Same flower blooms. I believe in two, yeah, being greater than one. Storm and the sun. Oh yeah. Da da da. Ba da da. Ba da da. I love you, even though you don't know me. Can't say I know your story, won't claim to know your history. We're afraid, we hide behind our pride, pushing back for one last word, knowing that it's wrong aside. And God knows I can't tell you who to follow, what to do or who you should believe. And I will try to understand your anger, only ask you to do the same for me. Won't get any further by denying. Take a moment, just look at where we are. Hasn't been all glorious, perfection's still a ways by far. But we grow, that's the human nature. And I will rise beside you, and we can be our hopeful set of saviors. And I won't try to justify my screw-ups, hope you can forgive me as I am. We're out of time, I'll try to just hold you up, I'll put back my bias as best I can. Won't get any further by denying, so listen to a heart when it is trying. Ooh. Know that I could only want the best for you. Da 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 da. I've seen the world is changing. Know that I can't keep my mind the same. And I don't have to give up my beginnings. All my love is kicking me this way, yeah. Open up to what you've been refusing, 'cause love is always open to the choosing. Ooh. Know that I could only want the best for you. Thank you.
Good morning, Action Church. Hello. Wow, this is, it's funny. I was looking at the microphone when I was sitting down there, and I'm like, I am not that tall. I'm that tall. All right, announcements, guys. This morning, Ladies' Night is tonight at Jill's. We met there last time. We had a great time last time. I mean, if you can talk to anybody that came, it was really cool. So that's going to happen again tonight. I think the plan is to kind of talk about what we want to study going forward or how to format that, because we got distracted last time with lots of things, like we always do. So that's tonight at Jill's at 6 p.m. Ask her if you need directions. Ask me. Anybody, really, you can grab. Also, Youth Night is next Sunday. I'm super excited about this. Youth Night is next Sunday, July 19th, 5:30 to 8. So we are, once again, doing the whole, this is our first group meeting after COVID. We're super excited. Come, bring your friends. There's going to be food like there always is. There's going to be antics like there always is. And we'll talk about, once again, what's next. So bring your thoughts. Be thinking about it. We're really excited to see you guys. 5:30 to 8 next week. And as always, invite, invest, and get involved. This is more important now than it's ever been. And so it's just really great seeing you guys do that and showing up. We had mentioned having several needs within our church community, things with lawn care and cleaning. And some of that stuff has been met because you guys are doing exactly that. So that's really neat. So somebody actually is handling the maintenance inside the building, the cleaning and stuff weekly right now, which is fantastic. I know there's some needs with lawn care and weed pulling and all of that. So if you go on our Facebook page this week, you can get information about what our needs are. And as far as investing, you guys know we are a nonprofit organization. This isn't not paid staff really. This happens because you guys are here. You're here and you want to serve your community and your church community. So you can swipe a card, you can go online, do it that way. And as far as communication, we have talkback cards that are by the boxes. They're kind of stationed everywhere. If you have thoughts, feelings, questions, write it down. Don looks through those and gets back to you. So, all right, I think that's it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. You had me. I was just sitting there watching, what comes next? There's got to be something. Oh, wait a minute. That's me today. Well, welcome, everybody. We're still talking about necklace murder hornets for pigs, I guess. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's actually pearls before pigs. But we've been talking about this idea, which is sort of all-encompassing in our world. And it's funny, I think through the years, at least growing up, as I did in the church had sort of a maybe a reputation for sort of answering questions that no one was asking, like talking about old texts that, who's interested in that, or at least that's the way I felt as a child. But it's interesting because that sounds sort of, sort of nice to me. Wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where we could just talk about sort of Bible trivia? That would be fantastic. But instead, I feel like, at least here at Action Church, every week I'm going, God, give us answers to things we're dealing with today, And one thing I know for sure we're dealing with is this whole thought of how do we communicate as Christians and just as people in the world that we have created with social media and media that comes from social media. And interestingly enough, I think that Jesus just nailed how to do that, at least I'll give you, like it was 50 years before the smartphone was invented. I think that's it. Google it. I'm not sure. But a few years before the smartphone was invented, Jesus just sort of nailed it. But before we get started, I want to talk about bad neighbors. I'm fortunate because I have good neighbors. We actually stay in our neighborhood because we love our neighbors and had the same neighbors for like 15 years on one side and 21 on the other side. And it's just, there's nothing better than having neighbors you can count on and depend on and sort of like, you're happy to see them when you walk outside. But imagine having a bad neighbor. So I thought I'd bring this up. Now, this is written in English, and I don't speak English. Like, this is from England. And I realized when I watch Doctor Who or any sort of English show, you're like, I don't speak English. So the caption is hard. It says, next door to top class grass banter. That might be a terrible insult in England. It makes no sense here. But this went viral this week, this idea of they have this tiny little, if you look on the screen, you see the tiny little shared lawn that these two guys, Matty and his neighbor, share, and his neighbor cuts right down the edge every week. And so Matty said top class grass banter, and it went viral. I mean, I am not on Twitter, and I don't live in England. In fact, I live in Mount Wolf, Pennsylvania, which is as far from England as you can imagine. And I saw it on, my news feed this week. I think it was Fox or CNN or one of those news feeds. This dispute among neighbors, and so of course I click on it and I scroll down and I'm going, what a terrible neighbor. Can you imagine? And that's what all his neighbors were saying. Like, how long would it take to cut that strip of glass? It probably takes a longer time to like lay the line out. And then all of his friends had like, suggestions as you get in a thread like that. When something goes viral, you're like, they're like, you should build a fence. You should build an 8-foot fence right down the middle of that. And somebody else said, you should plant wildflowers on your side. And then people started sharing stories about their bad neighbor experience. One of them said, my neighbor borrows my lawnmower and doesn't mow my lawn. And then the other person said, I have a much larger lawn than that, which how couldn't you? Like literally, that could be cut with scissors. And they're like, I always mow my neighbor's lawn, even though they don't ask. So that was obviously a saint. But I got to thinking, like, who's the bad neighbor? Because Matty, and the only reason I can use his name is because Matty put himself out there. And if you notice, Matty's pretty proud of it, right? Like, Matty is proud of the fact that he went viral, that his tweet went all over the world. In fact, he pinned it to the top of his feed. I went back and researched. I was like, maybe he just made a mistake. Oh, no. Matty's very, very proud of this. And then he starts another whole I don't know what to call it, but another whole thread based on Lawngate, like about the people that are coming back. Because here's the deal. If you think about it, Matty complained to about 8 million people that his neighbor didn't mow his lawn. Right? Like, I know of no law that you're required to mow your neighbor's lawn, no matter how small. My neighbor actually mows my lawn, but he's in the landscaping. He's in the landscaping business, and that's a funny story because he gives me a really good deal, and he just mows both of ours in like 22 seconds on one of those $10,000 mowers. But the reason why he gives me a good deal, I know, is sort of like because he's a professional, and his lawn looks so good, and we mowed ours every week. But that probably made him more angry because, like, we were like rednecks with the little push mower going, where it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And he's going back and forth and making it look like a baseball field. And finally he's like, dude, just let me mow your lawn. And so now for years he has, and it looks fantastic. And he gets it treated and stuff because there was like a clear line of demarcation between our lawns just in the fact that his was green and mine was sort of like whatever weeds grew there, and now they're actually grass back there. And so, but here's the truth. Like, who's really the bad neighbor? Is the bad neighbor the person who, for whatever reason, maybe they just go, this is my lawn and I'll mow it. It takes me 17. It takes longer to start the lawnmower at that point. And this would probably be an actual use for an electric mower that lasts for 17 seconds. Like, so I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but the fact is, as much as I could convince you that Maddie, is being harmed, you kind of go, no, Maddie's a really bad neighbor. Maddie's a really bad neighbor because he took this little dispute and he shared it not just with his 1,000 followers. He had like 1,100 followers. He shared it with the world. Like, we're talking about it in church on Sunday morning the week after. And he's super proud of it. And so it made me think, like, and I know this is an odd thought, but maybe going viral isn't always a good thing. It seems to be the goal of much of our communication now. Like, man, what if I could, have a picture or a video of something going on or a tweet, and then it went viral, like people knew about it. And you could be financially compensated for that. I don't think Maddie is, but you can get ad revenue from things like that. It can start a career in the world we live and also end a career, ironically. In fact, we know for certain you can be on an airplane and end your career by the time you land if you do it correctly or incorrectly. But I thought, I have heard this somewhere, maybe Dr. Fauci, that going viral, literally virus spreading like a virus, maybe isn't good. And here's the thing I know about Maddie's feed, taking a bit of a deep dive into just reading through, the thread. You can be dead wrong and get 1,000 attaboy thumbs up. I know attaboy's not a thing. I'm 50. I get that. But all of your friends can applaud you and laughing emoji and, touchdown and you're so awesome and man, you should do this. And in the end, we're talking about a guy who is upset because the neighbor didn't mow his lawn, no matter how ridiculous that is. And here's the thing. I think we have to think about that, right? We have to think about the fact that just because, whether it's going viral on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, we can be applauded by those around us, right? Like the whole world can say, wow, that's amazing, great job, boy, I'm just like you. And we can be a terrible, terrible neighbor. And here's something else I know, and I feel bad about this. We're all slightly worse off for knowing this, right? None of us are better off for knowing that Maddie has a dispute with his neighbor. No one here is well, now I'm encouraged. Or now, because all we've done, even as you're sitting there, some of you are well, I don't know. He still should have mowed it. All we could do, and we're probably not going to fight, although if you want to later, I can. I haven't fought in a while. We don't get to spar anymore, so I'm down. But I'm saying we could fight about this, right? We could argue about who's right, and we should not know this exists, right? And so I thought this is and it's funny because I feel like this worked as an example because I could do this all day and I won't because if we weren't talking about lawn care in England, in about 15 seconds, I could put something else on here that's viral this week, and we would be divided. Isn't that amazing to think, in this room, even though we all came together, we're we're here for church, and we're going to worship, we could divide ourselves talking about something that we have no business knowing about, like this lawn care dispute. And so I thought we'd talk about how Jesus would handle this. And you might think, well, what would Jesus know about dealing with social media in 2020? And that to me is one of the reasons I think you should listen to Jesus, because I keep thinking about this whole thing that he said about avoiding going viral. He didn't use those words, but listen to what Jesus said, over 2,000 years ago. And it's just sort of shocking when you think, because I don't know if this has ever been true until now. I've been trying to think, has this ever been true in a large scale? It's true in a small scale, if you live in a small town. But this is now true for our world. Jesus said the time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed. And all that is secret will be made known to all. And whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light. And what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the housetops for all to hear. Do you think Jesus doesn't have an idea of how to deal with our world because he predicted that sort of situation? And I'm serious. Like, if you can think of a time that's been true for a world, let me know, because I don't know when that has ever happened until the last few years. But Jesus said this could happen, and here we are. Here we are, that everything that is covered up will be made known. I mean, think about things that you know about politicians and musicians and actors. And you go, well, that's paparazzi, that's famous, that's always been. But no, 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 no. Like, you know things about, like, local that you shouldn't know. Like, in fact, you're worse off for knowing them, and you can't, like, wash your brain out with soap. Now you know them, and we live in that world. When people say something, and, like in college, and it's only going to get worse, gang. Like, right now, like, we're still dealing with, believe it or not, and if you're younger, you don't know this, but there was a time when everything wasn't recorded. But now it's like everything we're doing, like, oh my God, I wouldn't even be here this morning if they would have had handheld recording devices when I was in high school. Thank God they didn't. But now, like, all of those things are recorded. So I don't know in the future, like, how we're not going to know every dumb thing, every racist thing, every sort of misogynistic, stupid, thing that you say when you're a teenager, and how this is true, right? And it's only going to get more true as we go along. So maybe we should listen to Jesus, because Jesus had a completely different way of dealing with conflict. And I just want you to just walk with me this morning through this. It's very simple. And all I ask you to do is not go, oh, I believe it because it's Jesus, or, oh, it's in the Bible, or I don't believe the Bible, or I don't believe. Just think, would this work? And I find myself saying that more and more, because I'm more and more confident, like, the more years I do this, like, the reason why this stuff is in the Bible, it was written down, and the reason why you have it, and the reason why, like, 2 years ago, the top seller is now at Ollie's for 52 cents, is because it doesn't work after a week and a half, but this stuff still works. I mean, think about, like, do you want to buy a diet book from 5 years ago? Oh, no, you don't, But yet this works. Think about this. It says, if another believer, now, granted, we're dealing with believers, but we'll expand later. If another believer sins against you. So he's saying, you who are in the kingdom, and he's laying this out. And this sort of also points, and I know I've got 3 words in and I'm stopping. It sort of also points to, like, how prescient Jesus is about the future as well. Because at this point, he's just a guy walking around, like, doing miracles and talking to people. He hasn't died. He hasn't been, hasn't come back from the dead. There are no churches, with statues of him in whiteface hanging in them. Like, there's none of that. There's no crosses on top of anything, because that's just like an electric chair. Like, so he's predicting, that's what's interesting about this, if you think, like, he's predicting that there will be believers. Believers in what, Jesus? You're a carpenter's son. Oh, you'll see. But he said, if another believer sins against you, go privately and point out the offense. And if the other person listens and confesses it, you have won that person back. But if you are unsuccessful, take 1 or 2 others with you and go back again, so that everything you say may be confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. If the person still refuses to witness, I've been drinking. I'm sorry. I had a donut. But anyway, refuses to listen. Take your case to the church. See, that's been recorded, and now that'll be the thing. The pastor, that literally could go viral. Oh, the pastor admits he's been drinking during the service. Take your case to the church. Then, if she won't accept the church's decision, treat that person as a pagan or a corrupt tax collector. And we're going to go back through this, but before you go, oh my goodness, Jesus said that you could treat another believer in church like a pagan or a tax collector, and we know tax collector is the worst thing. Not to Jesus. See, like, even that, like, he's going, you can treat them like a pagan or a tax collector, meaning you don't respect them or honor them. But if you remember a little bit about Jesus, he was very kind and loving and still trying to win pagans and tax collectors. In fact, he had a bad reputation for hanging out with pagans and tax collectors. So let's keep in mind. So let's start with the first thing. So if you had a dispute, let's say your neighbor doesn't mow your lawn for you, you could. Now, this is crazy. Let's see if this would work. You could tweet about it and it go viral, and then and at some point I think Maddie realized maybe my neighbors have heard about this. He said that in his maybe this is getting a little out of hand, but then later on obviously he pins at the top and he gets really proud of it. But if you think about their homes, which weren't very large, they're typical England attached housing, they're probably sitting on opposite sides of the same wall at night watching their televisions. Literally, you could tap on the wall. Right? You don't even have to go ring their bell. You could talk about in England, these tiny little houses in a row, you go, hey, why don't we take alternate weeks and just mow the whole lawn, right? This could have been resolved. Will you at least agree with me at that? This could have been resolved privately. So Jesus was not crazy about this idea, but think about that. What would change in our world if instead of blowing everything up viral, seeing something and we tape it and we put it and we immediately upload it? I mean, crimes are being committed, and we're just taping it and uploading it. And it's interesting, too. Not a lot of people stop what's going on that's bad. They just tape it and put it up. And so what Jesus said, and if you think about, would this work, is that your best chance of reconciliation, the best chance you have if you have an argument with someone, is to go to them privately and work it out. And I know it's a novel idea, but think about why that's true. It's true because there's the least to lose for that person to apologize, right? The easiest apology is you do something wrong and someone doesn't mock you and spread it around and gossip about you and tell everybody what you did wrong, but they literally come to you and go, hey man, you've been parking in my spot. And you go, I'm sorry, I didn't know, or I was being lazy or whatever. That's the easy. It's never easy to apologize, especially if you're a record male or female. In my family, we don't like to say we're wrong. It gets stuck. We're I'm sorry, I can't say that, but I was less than correct, right? But here's the thing, the easiest it's ever going to get. So not only are you helping that person to say they're sorry and to move on, if you really want to solve a conflict, you're actually helping you, right? Because you're making it easy as possible. Because just understand, all of us are sort of lazy and we like easy. And so the easiest to come is we're not shamed by others. It's not a big deal. There's no other cost than just going, I was wrong. And that's what Jesus said. He said if the person listens and confesses it, if they say, yeah, you're right, I blew it, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Problem solved. Problem solved. And you gave them an easy avenue to reconciliation. But he said if you're unsuccessful, take one or two others with you and go back again. So he's just because they blew you off personally, it's not over. And then he didn't go, and then get those tweeting thumbs ready because we're going viral with those things. They wouldn't have said that back then. I don't know. Go house to house on your donkey and scream up to the balconies they didn't mow my lawn. What a bunch of jerks. But Jesus didn't say that at all. So what he said is, and think about this, novel idea. First, go to them personally and try to resolve it one-on-one because that's the easiest avenue. And then he said, involve as few people as possible. He's 2, possibly 3. Trusted people that you can kind of go back. And in church world, if you're going, well, how would we do this in church world? Take somebody that's like a mutual friend, right? Like somebody that both of you could kind of, you probably should, that second person probably shouldn't be like a hired hitman, a bouncer guy. Like this is my friend. He plays football for Penn State. He's here to make sure that this goes well. That's not really what Jesus is saying. He's like, take another person or two, maybe two, and involve as few people. And once again, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We're doing the opposite of what going viral is. Like, we're getting back up, but he didn't really say it like back up. It's not like, and then take some muscle. Once you take some muscle, then maybe they'll listen. That's really not even, he said, so that you could have a witness. And what he's doing there really is sort of adding some accountability to the thing, right? It's the same reason people go to counseling, right? You go to counseling because the counselor tells you what to do. That's not what that is. That's a fortune teller. Like, you don't go to counseling and they go, here's what, but you're talking to a counselor because you need someone to sort of witness and referee and go, well, yeah, I heard you say that, and you might go, well, I'm not going to say that because I know how that actually sounds if somebody's listening in. And so that's what he's saying. He's saying basically like involve as few people, but get a referee involved. And then he said this. He said, if the person still refuses to listen, take your case to the church. So far we have a pathway where somebody's offended or somebody's wronged or somebody doesn't like what you've done, and that person doesn't tell everyone in the church. The person doesn't like broadcast it on Facebook. The person doesn't like do a thread about it. But they go directly to the person. They try to work it out. The person is not interested in working it out. They take a referee back, maybe two other people that they can respect. And then if all of that breaks down, and I'll tell you, it does happen, but it's rare. And you might go, well, I don't know if that would work. I don't know if it's been tried, right? Like, what do? Like, we see our neighbor do something we don't like, or we see someone in Costco do something we don't like, or we want to make sure we capture it. Why? Because there's an incentive in our culture to get that out there. Like, oh man, look at all the attention we get for doing absolutely the wrong thing. But he said, if the person still refuses to listen, take your case to the church. So, yes, this was for church. But once again, Jesus is super prescient because he's talking about how we would do things in church before there are churches, which is also interesting. And I know that's been translated into church, but he was talking about believers, his believers, which at that time they'd be like, how arrogant. Like, who's going to believe in you? Like, I did like the fish thing you did. That was awesome. And I don't know what the trick was, but I didn't see it. And that was good fish. But believers, what are you talking? But he knew that there'd be this huge organization that we're still part of. But what he's saying is the appropriate authority in a church situation would be the church, your brothers and sisters in the church. So now that's not going to work if it is neighbors. And, if they're not church members. So I want to warn you about that, and I want to just encourage you not to bring people you're having a fight with. Just bring them to church and go, I got to bring you in front of the church, and they're going to tell you how. That's not what he's talking about at all. Like, it would be great. Like, we'd probably grow if you just brought all the people that you were pissed off at and just go, okay, we're going to straighten these people out. But it doesn't work that way. They have to be in the church and actually care what the church says for this to work. But why I know this would still work is because he's saying then in a church situation, you've talked to them, they still have a problem, you've gone with a couple people, you've sort of a counseling, refereeing situation, still no resolution, and then this person is still at that point actively wronging you. And you go, hey, I need help because this person is harming me. And then you bring it to the church. And so what if we did that in life? Not to the church, but to the appropriate authority. Like, your lawn care dispute with your neighbor would go, hey, why don't we work out this lawn care thing? This is crazy. Like, maybe I'll mow it one week and you mow the other week. Oh, no? Okay. Well, let's bring the neighbors on both sides and see if they can help us. And then I got an idea. if we still can't come to terms with the fact that you're not mowing my lawn, right? We could go to the HOA, which is terrifying. Because then you'll probably have to bulldoze the houses and start. I don't know. HOA, never take anything to the HOA. But you know what I'm saying? That is the appropriate path in the lawn care dispute. But see, we think it's perfectly normal to sort of blow it up. We think it's perfectly normal to go, oh, yeah. I mean, and it's funny because I'm telling you, I would have ignored that news story because I don't care, and I still don't care. But I wouldn't have thought, what a terrible thing. I wouldn't have thought anything about it because it's so normal. And it also shows you, it's like, what is wrong with our news? You know, like, that's news. How did that become news? But I wouldn't have thought this is an outrage. I just would have ignored it because we think that's so normal. Like a small dispute gets blown up into this viral thing. And as we can see from the story of Maddie, like, he's pretty pumped about it. Like, right? Like, you know, like if he was ashamed of this, it would have disappeared. Instead, he pinned it to the top. Like, hey, when you come to my, you know, I don't know what it is. I really should know the terms for this, but I'm not on social media. But when you come to my Twitter feed thing, it's at the top. Like, I want you to see this. I know enough to know that. But there's no option. Notice, there's never a point in Jesus' plan where it's like, and then get out the printing presses, which haven't been invented yet, but I'm telling you about churches, so I know about printing presses. You know, he's not like, and then spread this around as much as you can. Tell everybody. Gossip, gossip, gossip. Like, let people know that this person is wrong. Never. So let's sort of review, but first I want to tell you this about Jesus. Jesus said, and you think like being approved for the Supreme Court is difficult. Jesus said this, and I tend to believe him. He said, and I tell you this, you must give an account on Judgment Day for every idle word you speak. And the word you say will either acquit or condemn you. Now, I think I'm going to get off because my lawyer is Jesus. That's the whole point of being a Christian, of giving Jesus control of your life and, you know, accepting the sacrifice of his death as payment for your sins. Then your lawyer is like, I'm sorry, we're going to strike that. Like, he's the best lawyer. So I think I'm going to get off, but that's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Every idle word. And you go, well, that's not possible. We didn't think it was possible to know as much about people as we know now. I mean, think about how much people know about you and I right now and could bring up if they wanted to. You think it's not possible that God knows every idle word we've ever said and can replay them? Ooh, he's got plenty of time. That's the thing. We're like, it couldn't be possible. Everybody, like, how long would that take? I don't know. Eternity? You know, it's like, it sounds terrifying. So let's sum up. So let's, if that's the alternative, let's just sum up and go, here's what Jesus did say. Here's his plan, and I think we should think about it. And so this is, obviously, it was for his followers. And if you're a follower of Jesus, and if you're part of Action Church, this is how we have to do it, right? Like, it should never be you have a problem with somebody and you blow it up on social media. That's just not allowed. It's not right. But this can work for all of us. And just because you're a follower of Jesus and, you know, this is not with someone in the church, you can still do this. It's allowed, you know, private confrontation. If it's bad enough that you think other people, and here's the thing, there's another option, and this one, this will blow your mind, but I'm going to add this one in here. Do nothing. Like, you could literally let your neighbor not mow your lawn and just mow your lawn. It's probably right. And so I'm not even saying you need to confront everybody with everything. I honestly think there should have been zero confrontation in this. Like, get your lawnmower out. And if you want to make the point to your neighbor that maybe we're stupid, mow them at the same time. That's the sort of passive aggressive way I would have done it. Like, he's out there mowing and you're meeting him. You're like, whoa, whoa. It's like meeting in a hall. That would have been funny. But so maybe you could have worked something out that way. But like, you don't have to do anything. But if there is a problem, I'll solve it. Check out. That's something different. But I was thinking, like, why did that come to me? I can't remember what I did last week, but that I know. Vanilla Ice is there. But here's the thing. Private conference that could happen. That could work, right? And then involving, and notice I've few. That's big to remember. Like, as few people as possible. And that doesn't count when you go, well, I don't have that many followers, so I just, no, that's not the way it works. Like, as few as possible, like 2 or 3 people you know, not hired muscle. And then, if it's just not possible to work it out with a counselor or a trusted advisor or a friend, then you go to the proper authority. Like, just because you see something, and just because you've recorded something, or just because you have a conflict with someone, it's possible that you could deal with it personally, and then maybe with a few people, and then if that didn't happen, even if that wasn't possible, then you could go to the proper authority, the HOA, or, human resources at work, or call the cops. Like these things could happen, and it would ruin the internet. And that would be great, wouldn't it? Like, we can't even imagine that world. Like, the number one sport is, aha, I've got you. I caught somebody doing something. And I'm going to tell everybody, and maybe pick me. Maybe they'll pick me, and it'll go viral on Fox, or it'll go viral on CNN, or maybe pick me, HuffPo picked it up. Like, all that's gone, but think about how much cleaner your feed would be and how much you wouldn't know that Maddie has a problem with his neighbor. It's that ridiculous. And now, here's the thing. That's when we have conflict. But I want to end today. I mean, I hope, and we'll put this out there this week, like kind of Jesus' plan, because it's the way it works. Tell me it doesn't work. But Paul said something that I want to leave you with. Because I don't even want us walking around like, waiting for the conflict to happen. Like, it'd be great if that doesn't happen. And this is an old man term, but I like when people say, I'm going to settle his hash. I like that term. And I don't know what hash needs to be settled, but it sounds good. Like, I'm going to go over there and settle his hash. Maybe that's just from Missouri, or maybe I've been drinking. I don't know, or I could possibly be having a stroke. But we don't even need to do that, right? We don't need to settle anybody's hash. Listen to what Paul said, and this is what I hope we can live by. He said, bless those who persecute you. That's a novel idea. So the people that are like, and trust me, if you have it, it's coming. If you are like, oh, I'm a Christian, I never got persecuted, I feel left out. Oh, it'll come. Bless those who persecute you. Do nice things for them. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. That's difficult. And then he says this, like, imagine living around this person. Like, how much do you want to be this person's neighbor? Happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who weep. Have appropriate emotions toward others, and actually, like, care about what they're going through. That would be weird. Live in harmony with each other. And I love this part. And if we ever forget this in Action Church, we've lost it. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. Like, that alone, there's so much wisdom in this, changes everything. And then he says this. And it's so funny because the currency of our world that we're living in currently is, if I see something bad that I think is objectionable, guess what? I'm going to settle their hash. No, they don't say that. I say that in old men. But I'm going to let people know what? What? I'm going to cancel them. I hope they lose their job. I hope they're shamed. I hope they have to get off the web. I hope that people picket their house when they find out. But what is that? That's evil. And he's like, never, 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 never pay back evil for evil. Come on. How's that going to happen? How's that going to help anything? Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. And you know what, guys? That is possible. That's called building a reputation and a character. And it's hard. Because as we know, one thing we do have learned, at least from our weird social media world, is that people are watching, aren't they, right? And even if they don't call you, and it's so funny, like what we should do, according to Jesus, is when someone steps over the line, when they sin, when they do something wrong and they hurt someone else, then we need to talk about that. That's a problem and take care of it. But we don't do that. You know, we kind of just save it on a hard drive until we need it later. But man, I know people like this. People that you go, well, that's an honorable person. You know, I may not even always agree with them. I may not even like them, but wouldn't mind living next to them. You know, wouldn't mind if one of my kids married one of their kids because they're honorable. Everybody can see it. They're good people. And he says, do all you can do to live in peace with everyone. And see, even Paul, Paul wasn't so sort of like naive to go, oh, and then live at peace with everyone. He didn't say that. In fact, another verse that I love says, as much as within you, live at peace with those around you. So I want the guys to come back up, and man, I'm looking forward to that. But I want to leave you with one other thing. This gossip thing, it's airborne. We know how it spreads, right? Like, we still haven't figured out COVID. I don't know. It's like I keep hearing something different. Like, we're still working on it. We're trying to figure out like how exactly some people can get it and some people don't. But we know how this stuff spreads, right? The only way we know about Maddie's lawn care issue, the fact that his neighbor is so terrible that won't mow his lawn, it's airborne, man. We know how to stop it. We should do the opposite of what I just did this morning. But I was doing it to help you, I swear. Like, we should not be talking about this. We should not be forwarding this. We should just ignore this. We should make this where you get no clicks when this comes up. Even though I did just spend my whole morning talking about it. I'm sorry. Like, I think I might have done something wrong while trying. But it was the least obnoxious thing I could think of that hopefully we won't come to blows about later. Because it's so incredibly stupid. But we know how this spreads. And we know how to stop it. And so I want to pray with you. And we can start here. This is something we can do, and we can start this week. And just go, okay, I don't know how I'm going to live at peace with everyone. And I probably, and we're acting like, oh, it's only people that wrong us. Truth is, we're going to wrong people, and we pray that they act like this, the way Jesus said. But I could do that this week, and you could do that this week. And we could not give a moment's attention to just gossip and things we shouldn't know about. Let's pray. Dear God, we are flawed people. And God, I pray that you just forgive me because I've probably offended 37 people this week myself. And God, I'm grateful for the grace that they've given me. And God, help us, each of us, to give grace back. And God, help us as a church to live this out. To live out the way that you told us to handle things instead of sort of falling into the trap that our world is falling into. And God, help us to live honorable lives that people can see a difference in. And God, help us to be people that are respected even when we're not agreed with. And God, I pray for everyone who's hurting today, and I pray for everyone who walked in here with a heavy burden, whoever that is. God, I pray that you would lighten that, not only through your power, but through the power of a church. In your name we pray. Amen.
God bless each and every one of you. I'm Cal Weary. This is Eli Weary. The music you've heard today is all original, and it's part of the Action Church family. We thank you for having us here. We love each and every one of you very much. Last time we came, I did this song, wrote it specifically for here. So we're doing this one again. This is a contract for life. A contract to get my soul back. It was a hard one. It came from God's Son. I didn't know him. I didn't know what he could do, but I've been saved now. Now I've been saved now through and through. And the girl said, she told me, some people want to take away your life. Some people want to take away your love. Some people want to take away your heart. Some people want to block the sun above. But you don't gotta let them tell you who you're gonna be. You don't let them cover your life in steam. Cause the fool can't believe in the Father's dream. So the word of the angel comes in quiet dreams and says, the angel said, now there's an answer to the pain you feel, and I know you want the cure. You've been fighting it for all your life, but the time is finally short. Just put your hand in the air, it all starts there. Can you feel the power now? Cause you've been given a space by his holy grace. Hear the crackle, boom, and pow, and the Spirit says, the Holy Spirit says, and I want you to know we're all here for the same glowing light. And I want you to know we all fear the same old thing tonight. And we all say, we all say, some people want to take away your life. Some people want to take away
That was incredible, you guys. Thank you so much. That was like the perfect way to wrap it up, so I have nothing to say. Have a great week.